So this is Kirsten Dell. She is a pelvic health physical therapist. We really wanted to bring her into the studio to talk to people about the core, pelvic floor, and how it all relates to strength training. She was a phenomenal softball player for the University of Missouri, but even more importantly, she's a phenomenal physical therapist. We've sent some clients there that have worked with her, and I've heard nothing but great things. So yeah, this is Kirsten. I'll let you kind of take over from here. And if anybody has any questions, just let me know. I've got this mic, pop around. But we're mainly going to focus on the exercise stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. It's always super fun to be here. I've worked closely with Stephen for a while now, and we've shared some patients, which has been really fun. But I'm a physical therapist. I am born and raised in Southern California, came to Mizzou to play softball, got my degree in health science, and then stayed for my doctorate, got my doctorate in physical therapy. I've been a physical therapist for just over a year now, which is crazy. It feels like it was just yesterday, but it's just crazy how much I've learned in just that 1 year. I love to treat ortho, but I've kind of fallen into this pelvic health world that I just have such a passion for. And so about 70% of my caseload right now is strictly pelvic health. And when I say that, people think, oh, incontinence. It's so much more than just incontinence. Yes, we treat incontinence, absolutely, but there's so much to the pelvis and what goes into kind of pelvic stability and how that can affect the chain up and down. So lots of people with low back pain, lots of people with hip pain, incontinence, pain with intercourse, feeling like things are falling out when you're running, just anything that, everything has to do with the pelvis. And that's why I kind of love what I do, because I want to treat more of an athletic population. And every single person that comes into my clinic, they're athletes. What you do, like anything you do outside of just like your normal job, coming to this, coming to Simple Solutions, all these things, like you are an athlete. And you have to remind yourselves, like you're an athlete, you can do hard things, but it all starts at the pelvis. That's exactly like our whole body sits on our pelvis. Our legs sit on our pelvis, our trunk sit on our pelvis. We have to have stability in our pelvis in order to function optimally at a really high level. And so it's just really meshed all the things I love of ortho, pelvic health, into kind of one really fun, streamlined kind of patient population that I get to see. And so I gave a talk probably about 6 or 8 months ago now, maybe even a year. And so this is kind of from that, but also just wanted to give this to people because I think it's just a great resource of like, what is pelvic health? A lot of people just don't quite know, and that's okay. I think that more and more providers are becoming aware of it. It's incredible that Stephen has really grasped onto kind of pelvic health and reaching out for resources and really encouraging the clients that he works with to seek help if they need it, but also he can be a huge, huge resource as well. And so when we think of the pelvic floor, I don't have my pelvis model with me today, but it's a bowl of muscles that really help support the pelvis. So they aid, so you see the 5 S's, support, so they hold up the organs, that's really the floor. Sphincteric, open and close for continence, so they aid in sexual function. And then the big one we're gonna focus on today is stability. Stability, stability, stability. They aid in stability of your hips, your low back, your core, all of those things. We have to find stability in our pelvis. Otherwise, that's when things typically go wrong. And then also as a sump pump, it helps move fluid through. So I treat a lot of people with chronic constipation because that can really, really throw your pelvic floor off. So I'm gonna throw my one little thing in. If anybody has constipation, that is a huge, huge, huge issue with pelvic floor dysfunction. And I see so many patients that struggle with it. Probiotic, fiber, we should be pooping once a day. It shouldn't be rabbit poops. It should be pretty soft. And I know I work with a lot of patients that poop maybe once a week, and that just causes so many issues in your pelvic floor and then can cause issues with your hip and your low back. And we kind of joke as physical therapists, if we could fix constipation, I think that like 50% of our caseload would be gone because it's just such a big issue. And so, but the main thing we're gonna focus on is stability. kind of going through, if we flip to the second page, slide number 6. So foundational concepts in the strength training world that really relate to pelvic health. So we want this good balance between mobility and stability. So mobility is super important. We want our hips to be open. We want to be flexible. But if you do have that flexibility, we have to have the stability to balance that out. A lot of people have this sort of fake stability. So their hips are really tight, their low back is really tight. That is because you don't have these small muscles that are providing stability in your pelvis. So everything else, your bigger muscles are just like, I want to feel stable. I need to have this strong foundation, so they tighten up. So some of the things we work on in pelvic floor physical therapy is opening up the hips, but also once we do that, we have to get you the stability in the right places. I'm working with a runner right now. She's training for a 50K. Came to me, has had one kiddo, mid-30s, and it just felt like things were just falling out after about 3 miles. Checked her, no prolapse. Didn't have any prolapse. She's like, something is falling out. She would use a pessary, which would help a little bit for a few miles, but she's like, something is falling out. So the reason for this was she had super, super high tone in her pelvic floor. So she didn't have leakage. She didn't have pain with intercourse, a lot of these red flags, but when I did my internal exam, she had crazy high tone. What that means is just her pelvic floor was just really, really taut, really tight, and she could not relax it for the life of her. She just couldn't figure out how to relax it. And so the reason for that was when I kind of got her in some functional single leg stance positions, because when we run and we're in single leg stance, she was all over the place. So every time she took a step, her hip muscles were trying to stabilize her, trying to help her, trying to find stability for her. She's running 50K and they couldn't find it. So the next closest muscles that attach to the pelvis are the pelvic floor. And they were just gripping on for dear life, trying to find stability in her pelvis. And we've worked on some of the myofascial work, and now we're really working on single leg stability, and she's up to running about, I think she ran 16 miles and didn't have any symptoms. She notices a little bit more when she's trail running. And so the trail running is even different because now her ankle, because she's not on flat ground, is having to find some stability as well. And that's causing some stuff up the chain too. So we're working on ankle and hip, and she's finding that her symptoms are getting better. So her symptoms of prolapse weren't prolapse. Her symptoms were actually from tightness. And I would probably say, I don't love to categorize, but 85% of my caseload, their pelvic floor symptoms are from tightness, are from high tone. People with leakage, most of my people that I see with leakage, it's from high tone. So to kind of explain this is, so we have our pelvic floor, we have these muscles. So I'm gonna use my arm. This is just a nice relaxed position. We're sitting, nothing's crazy. We're just really relaxed and we're right here. This is where we wanna be. Relaxed state, they're in a good length tension relationship. There's a good amount of length to the tension they have, and they can they can function through a full range of motion. So when they say Kegel, you can Kegel through a full range of motion. Well, a lot of my gals and guys, because I treat men as well for incontinence, they are here. This is their resting position. They just sit right here all the time. So when they go to the doctor and like I'm peeing myself and their doctor says, well, just do Kegels, this is what they're doing. So now we're just making the situation worse. We're just tightening our muscles to an even tighter position. And so the reason for the incontinence is when you take a step or when you go from sit to stand or you go any functional position where you get some increased intra-abdominal pressure that lengthens the pelvic floor out, you have no strength because you never sit in this position from here to here. So that's why you're leaking, is because you get to a little bit of a lengthened position during a functional movement, but you don't ever train this. And so from here to here, you don't have any strength. Those pelvic floor muscles don't know how to work. So that's why we really discourage Kegels, until you've had an internal exam, because for a lot of people, you're actually making the issue worse. So we've really tried to encourage our providers to not just say, oh, just do Kegels, to either go to your GYN or go to a pelvic floor physical therapist. Now, granted, I do have some patients, and typically it's a little bit in my older population, that do have just low tone weakness. That is a much easier thing to train because we're already in a very resting position. We have to get strength and tone, so we can train that up. So people with prolapse that typically just have a little bit more mobility will be kind of more likely to have leakage as a result of like low tone or decreased strength. But a lot of my gals that leak, it's not from weakness, it's from high tone. We go back to what we just talked about. How do you get that high tone? Because you don't have the stability in your pelvis. So the only way you find stability is through your pelvic floor. So a lot of what we're going to address today are really functional things that we can do to strengthen all of the small stabilizers that your pelvis really is relying on to get you stability so that your pelvic floor can rest and function optimally. Again, it's hard to say like, oh, you have leakage, this is going to help with your leakage because I haven't done an internal exam. But these are things that every single person can benefit from, because I've never had a patient, I mean, I've had some CrossFitters, I've had ultra marathoners, I've had some really fit patients, and they all fatigue out with these exercises, every one of them, because none of us train. When I go to the gym, I'm going to squat, I'm going to deadlift, I'm going to do things. None of us take the time to train these really small muscles. So when you come to therapy and I put you in really hard positions that I know you're gonna not be great in, and you start to wiggle and wobble, and then we can cue that up, they start to see like, wow, like I've done 10 reps and I'm fatigued, but you know, they can bust out a 30-minute WOD at CrossFit or run 50K. And so I just encourage people, like, number one, remind yourself, every single one of you are athletes, okay? You are all athletes. You guys are all here today wanting to learn, doing stuff on your own, okay? Number two, every single one of us can improve our hip stability and our core stability. And number three, be willing to fail, because that's how you're gonna learn. Be willing to ask questions today. I wanna come around, I'm gonna put my hands on people and be like, do you feel this? Do you feel that? If you don't feel it, tell me, because there are other ways that I can cue you into certain things. And so that's kind of just my intro. Any questions so far? Okay. The first thing, so if we flip to the page with diaphragm and the pelvic floor and the core analogy, the first thing we're gonna work on is breathing. It sounds so silly, but it's so important to pelvic floor function. And I've just realized this more and more as I've seen more patients, is just all of our ability to kind of do belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing is just not good, because we're all stressed. We all breathe through our shoulders and our chest, and it's just tough to figure out how to breathe through our belly. But that breathing through your belly is a great way to get into that parasympathetic state where you're not in fight or flight, you're in a little bit more rest and digest, but it also really affects the pelvic floor. So as you can see in this diagram, so as you inhale, so our diaphragm is a dome, okay? So as you inhale, the diaphragm's gonna drop from here to here. What that does is that increases the pressure in your abdomen to push some of the abdominal contents down, and some of that pressure helps that pelvic floor descend. So people with really high tone pelvic floor, the first exercise I will give them is just, we're laying on our back and we're learning how to, and as I did that, my pelvic floor just let go. I was like, this whole time I've been talking to you guys, I've just been gripping my pelvic floor. And just, you don't even know you're doing it. I just like, that's where I'm sitting, right? And so we just work on breathing, and it can take a while to figure out how do I breathe through my tummy. So I think this is just a great diagram to kind of show what just basic breathing mechanics can do for your pelvic floor. And something as simple as taking 2 minutes when you're laying down in your bed to work on some of that belly breathing. It can be a great aid to, like, before you go to sleep, of just like trying to get to that parasympathetic state, but also just like getting everything to calm down. I encourage diaphragmatic breathing before sex, because so many people get in a really, really tight and toned position. It's like, if you can just take 3 or 4 breaths and see if you can get that tone to relax a little bit, maybe intercourse will be a little less painful. And so we work a lot on that. I see a lot of patients for, pain with intercourse, associated with hip pain, back pain, things like that. And it's so much tone. We just live in a stressful society. Gosh dang it. Like, if we could just all learn how to just meditate for a little bit, gosh, we'd be in a lot better position. But we gotta make do with what we have. The next thing, the core analogy. This is just like a good reminder of, like, when we're building a house, we have the foundation, right? So that foundation is kind of our pelvic floor. It's the bottom part. Then we add the walls. The walls are gonna be some of the pelvic floor. So you have the pelvic floor, and then you have the walls of the pelvic floor. The walls of the pelvic floor, those muscles come around and attach on the hip. So there was a really great study done maybe 10 years ago. They took patients that were pretty much fully incontinent in a nursing home, and they sat them down and they laid them back. So most of these people were pretty fully dependent transfers, didn't have a lot of mobility, pretty much bedbound, fully incontinent, and they just had them in their bed twice a day with a band around their knees, doing some abduction if they could, doing a little bit of bridging. And they found continence improved by over 50% by just strengthening the hips. Because your hip muscles, so your piriformis, your obturator and turnus, those muscles are inside the pelvic floor, but they come around and they move the hip. So they attach to the hip and they help the hip move. So if we can strengthen the hip, we can strengthen the pelvic floor. So it's a really fascinating study. And then so we have kind of the walls, kind of part of the walls as well are the core, the transverse abdominis. So when we think of the transverse abdominis, it's a muscle not a lot of people talk about, but it's a deep core muscle. So you have your rectus abdominis, you have your 6-pack abs. Everybody wants a 6-pack. You guys don't. They're not functional. They do nothing but look good. I mean, they're nice. Like, I would like 6-pack, but they're not functional. They're not functional at all. Actually, a lot of my people that have some of the most issues with pelvic floor dysfunction, we call them ab grippers. So they have this like beefy, nice, good looking 6-pack, but they grip with their abs. Everything they do, they're gripping. And so they have no idea how to use their deeper core muscles. Those are the muscles that we're gonna work on today that aren't gonna get you the nice 6-pack, but are gonna help with your pelvic floor. So we have your internal, external obliques, which we're really gonna feed into. And then even deeper to that is our transverse abdominis. And our transverse abdominis is really, really deep. Kind of, if you have your hip bones, you go right inside your hip bones, kind of really deep in that pelvis. And they are the bread and butter to pelvic floor function. If I even have a hard time activating TA, it's just a muscle that we have a hard time figuring out how to activate. But I've learned through courses and just trial and error with patients of how to get patients in positions to optimize their ability to contract that muscle. And then we have the roof, and the roof is the diaphragm. Goes back to the breath work. We have to use our diaphragm. Our diaphragm's going to aid in the ability to contract your abs and the ability to maintain this good pressure system. So we want to be able to contract our abs, but we don't want to do it with, because that puts undue stress, and now we're ruining our length-tension relationship in the pelvic floor. We're getting length, but we have too much tension. So I always tell my patients, you're gonna hear me say this over and over and over again, we exhale with effort. Any effortful thing going from, so if I'm going to do a squat or sitting to stand, when I come down, that's my inhale. My exhale is on the up, the effortful pushing up, okay? That's gonna help you contract your pelvic floor, and that's also going to help recruit your abdominals. So we'll work a lot on breathing today, and we're gonna work a lot on trying to, can we get diaphragm, transverse abdominis, and hips to be used together. If those three things can be used together, your pelvic floor is gonna do what it needs to do on its own. So we're not gonna focus a lot on the pelvic floor today. You're not gonna hear me say, do a Kegel. No, we're gonna work on if our diaphragm, our TA, and our hips and our glutes are all working together, your pelvic floor is gonna be working much more optimally than it has been in the past. So if you flip pages, this is a home exercise program. These are just things that I love to do. These are exercises that are really functional, but also just great ideas to get started with, and really help hit a lot of these things. So we're gonna go through a lot of these, but there's also, if we have an injury or if getting on the floor or something like that is hard to do, there are lots of ways to modify these. So I just put these as like a starting point, but we're gonna go through a lot of modifications and a lot of cueing today of like, what should I be feeling and how can I maybe feel that? And then I just put like a little bit, 10 times 2 sets is kind of like a go-to. I don't love that. I like to go to fatigue, but so many, over and over and over again, when I hand some of these exercises and I don't put sets and reps, people don't end up doing them because they're like, well, I didn't know how many to do. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna put a very basic 10 times 2 sets. That way people aren't discouraged from doing it because they're like, well, I don't know when to stop. So Steven can get more into that. I'm sure that really just, he doesn't love the 10 time 2 set thing because it's just not great. But I just wanted people to know, like, that's a pretty basic thing that most people can achieve and can be really helpful. So any questions so far? Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and if we can all lie on our tummy, or lie on our tummies, lie on our back, because we're gonna work on some belly breathing. Feel free to get comfy. Here's an Eric's if someone wants to lean their head on it, can be comfy. See, look at that. That was straight tricep strength right there, girlfriend. That was an athletic move. All right. On our backs. So we're gonna put one hand on our belly, one hand on our chest, okay? On our inhale, you should feel that tummy rise, and you really shouldn't feel a lot of chest movement, okay? So let's take a few breaths here. And as you're doing this, kind of assess. Do you feel like you're squeezing your pelvic floor? Do you feel like that vagina is holding on or your rectum is holding on? If it is, on your inhale, try and let it go. Try and let it lengthen. It might feel like you're gonna pee yourself. You probably won't, but if you do, that's okay. Good. Let's see, big bellies. Good. Good work. It's harder than it looks. Good, 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 Annie. Very nice.
Musicians do this.
Okay. Good to know. Okay, so as we've gone through that, this seems so basic, but it's so important to be doing, like so important to be doing. It's the homework that I give my patients like the first 2 weeks of like, just belly breathe. And they a lot of times notice a significant difference. Now we're gonna work on some belly breathing, but we're gonna see if we can maybe start to get a little bit of TA activated. So when I say TA, I mean transverse abdominis. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna stay on our backs, and we're gonna get in a kind of a really extended position. Okay. We're gonna take a big inhale, so tummy's gonna rise on the inhale. And on the exhale, we're gonna reach back and get really long with our arms. So it's kind of an isometric push, so you're not, I mean, obviously I can't get my arms any longer, but I'm really like, if something was way behind my head and I was trying to reach for it. And on the exhale, reach, 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 reach. And kind of feel like you can feel those, pull those hip bones down and in. Good, so you should feel a little bit of a pull right through here. Do you feel anything through there?
A little bit.
Yeah, it's a hard, hard thing. Right through here, you should. Perfect, good. What are you doing? How are you cueing this in your mind?
I'm kind of feeling my abs, like feeling them against my backbone.
Yes, yep, so feeling your abs against your backbone. Good, yeah, good. Right through here, good, breathe. Good, do you feel that?
I more feel this.
That's the start. Yeah,
Cool.
that's the start. Yep. And big inhale. Good, and exhale. Reach, 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 reach. Pull abs in. Good. So you get a little bit right through here. Can you feel kind of a pull through here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, that's good. Do you feel that? Through where my hands are?
I think so.
Yeah, it's, yes, absolutely, yeah. Because that can be, kind of hurt the back, for sure. If you need to put your knees up, absolutely. This can be a really hard thing to do, but all of you guys are starting it. Like, you'll feel a little pull deep through here. And so I like to get in a little bit of an extended position to help feel that transverse abdominis. I've taken some courses and just talking with some of my coworkers, we find when we can get a really stretched position, it's not ideal for the length-tension relationship of the TA, but it helps us to feel it. And once we can feel it and activate it, then we can start to use it. Another way that I like to kind of start with some TA activation. So we're gonna get into some exercises. So I'll have everyone bend their knees up. Super simple things. You guys are gonna be surprised. We're just gonna start with a bridge. Like it sounds crazy, but if I had one exercise for every single person to do, like someone said, like, what is that exercise? It'd be bridge. It's not super functional because you're not in weight bearing, but it's one of the most bang for your buck exercises. And muscle EMG studies they've done, it's core, it's glutes, it's hip stability, it's all the things we need working together. But I find so often, a lot of us have done bridges. Most of us probably have. We don't activate the right muscles when we do them. So we're really gonna tune into a bridge, because even my 50K'er that I'm working with, she's like, yeah, I do these all the time. And she could rep out 50 of them. And then I kind of cued her into the right thing. And at 12, she's like, oh my goodness, like, I've been doing these wrong my whole life. Like, she's fatiguing out. And so we're gonna work on what we should feel, how we should feel it, and then being able to activate glutes and core with our breath at the same time. So on our backs, okay. That first thing is I want you to tuck your hips. So I want you to pull belly button in, okay, and tuck your hips underneath you a little bit, okay? Not a lot, but we're just going from this anterior tilt position and we're pulling our belly button in and we're tucking our hips underneath us. Good. Does everyone understand what I'm saying by from here to here, tucking those hips? Okay, once we tuck our hips, we're gonna maintain that tuck. This is where a lot of people lose it, okay? So just by tucking your hips, you should feel some transverse abdominis activation going on right now, okay? So if you wanna put your hands, find those hip bones and pull them just inside of your hips. That's where we're gonna find some of that TA activation. So just tucking your hips, you should feel a little bit of a tug or a pull right around that TA. From there, okay, we're gonna hold that. We're gonna squeeze our bottom, okay? And then we're gonna lift, but we're only gonna lift to where we can maintain that tuck. We don't lose the tuck, we hold the tuck, okay? So I can't go very high. If I go any higher, I lose my tuck. Excuse me. So let's go around. Let's maybe do 5 or 6 reps so that I can work my way around and just really, really dig into what am I feeling. Can you feel that? And then glutes. Do you feel glutes? Good. Do you feel low back? Good. Hamstrings?
Not really.
Good. That is a glute. These are called glute bridges, by the way. We forget to put the glute in front of glute bridges. So if we're not feeling them here, we're compensating somewhere, okay? So we're gonna kind of work on that. If you need to, you can pull your toes up and work on pushing through your heels. That's gonna help activate glutes a little bit more. Don't forget, you're exhaling with that effort. So when you lift up, you should be exhaling. Beautiful. Can you feel that? Mm-hmm. Good. You feel that? That looks really good. So what I notice about these bridges that are different from bridges I see elsewhere are they're like, lift your hips, higher, higher, higher. And it's like, we've completely lost all core at that point. Now we're just getting lumbar extension. Good, good. Tuck of the hips. Good. And relax.
It's easy to
it is really easy. Yep. Yep. Good. And relax. Can you feel core activating with this?
Yeah.
Good. Can you feel your bottom activating?
Oh, yes.
Good. Okay.
Yes.
Is it in the bottom or the hamstrings?
Both.
Good. Okay. Really try and put more emphasis in the glutes, which I want you to feel both because we're going to get both, but really emphasize that movement is being initiated by your glutes. How are you doing?
I think good. I'm feeling it.
Yes. Yeah. Like what? Like, you know, it's like, what? I've never felt a bridge down there before. Yeah, that's great. Right. And isn't it a pretty small movement? It's not a huge movement.
Yeah.
That looks really good. You're doing a good tuck and a good hold. Do you feel it in your bottom?
Yeah.
Good. Good tuck. Good. Where do you feel this?
Well, here.
Yes.
And down here too.
Perfect. Yes. Gosh, you guys are phenomenal. So good. Makes me so excited because it's a super easy thing to do, but we just don't quite know how to do it. And it's just simple kind of cueing to cue into that.
How long should we hold, like when we go up like this, how long should we hold?
Just as long as your exhale is, not a long time, just a 1 Mississippi and back down. I mean, if you're training for different things, you can do some holding and stuff, but kind of just a one Mississippi. The progression to this, which I have never been able to progress anyone to, including myself, is a single leg bridge. I think it's just incredibly hard to maintain all of that and do it on a single leg. Now I can rep out 50 single leg bridges, but I'm not using the right muscles. So if I'm just doing like a warm up or something, then maybe I'll do a single leg bridge. But if I'm really trying to cue into like hip, glute, core, single leg bridge is not going to be for you. So there is a time and a place for single leg bridge. Like I think it'd be a great glute and hamstring strengthener, but you're not really going to be able to maintain that good core through that. I've never been able to have anybody do it. I can't do it myself either. So the next thing we're going to do with this is we're going to add some banded work. So a lot of what we're going to do is we're going to incorporate the upper extremities. So the upper extremities have a fascial attachment. So we have this thing called the serape effect in our body. Our fascial lines, which we're all connected by fascia. All of our muscles have fascia. We're all connected by fascia. They cross in the front and they cross in the back. So we're going to feed into that, but we also have a fascial attachment from our upper extremity, kind of from the lats and some of the shoulder muscles into the core. So if we can get the upper extremities moving, we can get the core even more work. It's a great, great way to do some more functional things. Once we get into some of standing postures, you'll see we're going to do a lot of incorporating with our upper extremities because that really helps cue the core in. So we're going to grab our bands. And if we, so first we'll do a bridge and then we'll go to some of these tabletop chop stuff that I have on here and we'll work on that. We are gonna do a bridge, okay? So we're gonna grab our band. Just pull your band apart is what we're gonna do. So even here, don't even think about anything. Just pull your band apart, get good tension on your band, and see what you activate to pull it apart. Does anybody feel their core having to work a little bit to pull that apart? Yep. Okay. And we're just laying in a tabletop position, hook line position, just pulling this band apart. Okay. So that helps us cue in. So now we're going to do all the same things. We're going to tuck. We're going to feel that good kind of pull by our hip bones. We're going to pull this band apart and we're going to lift, activating glutes, okay, with a little bit of tension on that band. And back down, okay? You're not gonna feel much difference, but EMG studies have showed, so EMG studies, they stick a needle into the muscle and they see kind of what is activating, have showed that that can even increase a good portion of your TA activation. The next thing we're gonna do, similar, so all of these are just, like you can do one set of just normal bridges, then you can add upper extremity movement in. These are just different ways I've found to do the same exercise, but to get a little bit more out of each exercise. We are going to do the same thing, okay? So we're gonna get into that bridge, get into a pull apart, okay? And then we're going to keep the tension on our band and go all the way back and forward and down. Make sure we're breathing through that. Good tension, good tension on that band. Do you ever have any, do you feel like you ever get any, hip injuries or glute injuries? Yeah. So the first thing, your rib flare. So your ribs flare, a lot, which just tells me that you're probably more of a chest breather.
Oh, yeah.
So go ahead and go. So don't even go up into a bridge. Just reach overhead for me. relax. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit after, but like trying to get like lats loosened and stuff, because your ribs should sit here, and they're sitting nice and high. Okay, you're a queen. So good. So good. Yes. I love it. Can you feel that? Do you feel a difference with the band?
Yes.
Okay. How do you feel with this?
Yeah.
Is it a lot so sometimes it can be too much to focus on, so we lose certain things. So that looked good, but if you feel like it's overwhelming to like core, glutes, all the things, then I train without bands and then add bands as I can hold all of that.
Yeah. It's hard to pull it all together, but I do feel it.
Good, good. How are you guys doing over here? Nice. Looks really good. Push through those heels. Good. Yeah, that was a good contraction through there. Good. And back up. And one more time. Tuck. Good. Maintain the tuck, maintain the tuck, maintain the tuck. Good. And relax. Really fight the tuck. So you're a little bit more hypermobile. You have a lot of lumbar extension. So fight, 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 fight for that tuck the whole way up. Let's go one more time. Right there. Don't go any higher than that and back down.
No, it's cramping.
Is it in the back? Yeah. Yeah, so you are a little bit more hypermobile. I can just see by the way you move and stuff. And so your body's gonna wanna come out of that. Maintain that tuck, tuck, tuck. You've gotta fight for that tuck because you're gonna wanna come out of it just a little bit. And even just coming out of it a little bit pulls that TA out of it. So really fight for that tuck. So that's a bridge, okay? I love it. It's a great exercise. I just can't stress enough how great that exercise is. If we kind of sit up and we look at some of I didn't do a very great job putting these in a good order, but if we look at our tabletop chops, which is the second picture, and our Deadbug elastic band ISO on the next page, we will see some variations on our back, okay? So we are gonna grab a partner, okay? And we are gonna work on just feeling for these. So with the starting position, do you mind if I borrow your band? Stephen, would you mind coming to help? Would you stand back here and then hold this band for me? Just right in the middle. Good. So another great position, tabletop, okay? Find that tuck, okay? The band, the picture, I couldn't find another picture, shows us going backwards, but I want us to go down and relax, okay? And tuck and relax. Maintaining the tuck and pulling our arms down is really, really hard. And here's why. When we pull our arms down, we're activating our lats, our latissimus dorsi. Our lats want to pull us into lumbar extension. So if we can maintain a tucked position with a pull down, that's all core. That's your core, maintaining you in a tucked position, because the muscle you're activating wants to pull you out of that. So the only muscles you can pull yourself back into that is your core. So I love this as an exercise. So let's get, and then the progression of that is the Deadbug, okay? So you're here, and we pull down, that was my hip, and back up. Same thing. When you pull down, these hip flexors want to pull you into extension. Your lats want to pull you into extension. The way you don't pull into extension or kind of an arched back is core. This is a good progression. This may not be a today exercise. Like right about here, I can't maintain anymore. I'm coming out of it, so I'm gonna have to come back up. So those two are kind of progression. So if you wanna make note of it, or at the end, make note that kind of these tabletop traps, and we're actually bringing arms down, that would be a good thing to do. And at the end, I will go through these and we can grab pens and make notes of these on our paper. But grab a partner. Let's just practice first, okay? Finding that tuck. Exhale. Pull. Come back out of it. Do 3 or 4 of those, see if you can really feel that. And then just go ahead and try it. And how do we modify, okay? We don't do a straight leg. We go into just a heel tap, okay? Try those different variations. I'm gonna come around, do 3, 4, 5, each of them, see how you feel. I'll come around, key out of it, and then switch partners. Yeah, with your band. Just like that. And just however much tension your partner needs to pull down, you might have to loosen the tension. Find that tuck. Yep. Pull down, if you can pull down past your hips, that's where you're gonna get the most out of it. And exhale, yep. Good. Yep. Maintain the tuck, fight for the tuck, and pull down past your hips. So you're gonna be here, okay? Pull, 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 keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. You might have to come a little closer, yeah, keep pulling. And relax.
You can hardly feel any movement.
Yeah.
It's just
But,
inside.
yeah.
You can't see.
Nope.
Okay. So
Because you're trying to maintain the tuck. You're fighting for that tuck the whole way through your arm motion. That's how we know we're keeping core activated.
Okay.
And this is gonna be really, really, really hard for you because you already have a lot of extension. So you have to someone like with sway back and stuff, she's gonna be able to do that a little bit easier. It's gonna be hard for you. So for you, I might even add so come back up into a position. Okay. Yep, I might even recruit your adductor, so squeeze this as you go down. Not your legs, just your arms. Arms stay in tip, yep. Good. So I'm gonna try and get everything I can working for you because you have a little bit more lumbar extension. Good, and don't forget that exhale. Good work. Do you feel that in your tummy?
Yeah, I tried doing the sacral leg.
Holy, yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, 90.
90.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And then try to heel tap.
We may not
Yeah,
get it tomorrow.
And you lost it, right? And this is gonna be hard for you too because I think that your lats are pulling your ribs in. So your lats are gonna wanna take over, and so you're gonna really extra recruit abs here. Keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. Yeah.
That's hard.
Yes. Good. Switch partners if you haven't.
Oh.
Right? And are we lifting a weight? No. We're on our backs with a green TheraBand that, I love when I get these big bodybuilder guys in and I do stuff like this and they're shaking and I'm like, yeah. They're like, why is this so hard? I'm like, because I'm making you use muscles. Good. Could you feel that?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Good, 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 good. I love it a lot. These are so good. Good.
Feel it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to one leg. Watching her was hard.
Yes. We're gonna go into half kneeling or like a lunge position. If we have time at the end, we'll go into hands and knees. Hands and knees is a harder position because a lot of people don't tolerate if they have bad knees and stuff like that. So if we have time at the end, I'll show it, but on your back, and then we're gonna get up into like a half kneeling position. We can modify that with just like getting in a split stance if your knees are really bothersome. So we're gonna kind of come up into more of a standing or kneeling position because quadruped or hands and knees is a little bit harder for some of my patients to just get into. And it's a great way to activate core, but these are better ways that I think more people can do. So if you can get on hands, if you can get on one knee, or if you need this, or if not, feel free to get, as I almost topple over, to get into a split stance position. We're gonna be working the same things here, okay? So hands and knees or split stance, whatever works. So with the split stance, we can come out of that right now, actually. I'm gonna talk for a minute or two. Now we're getting into more functional things. We're getting into weight bearing. We're getting into everyday life. We walk, we move, everything we do, we're on 2 feet. So there's this thing called the Z-axis that I've really been doing a lot of research on and that I'm really intrigued about. So we don't operate in planes. Like we don't just operate in the sagittal plane, just straight forward, or the frontal plane, all right? Like we don't just operate in those planes. We operate in this Z-axis, which is kind of all of those planes put together. So like we go and pick something off a shelf. We reach over, we put it in the cart. That's frontal plane, transverse plane, and sagittal plane, all in one. Kind of call that the Z-axis. So we're rotating about an axis point in our body. We want to be rotating about that axis point. We want to be coming from the core, from the pelvis. So we're going to do a lot of anti-rotation stuff to feel what it's like to rotate about an axis. And that axis is your tummy. So for my runners, I know they tell you not to get a lot of rotation when you run, but we need to find a good balance. We should have some rotation. We need rotation to help activate core. If we run in a sagittal plane, we are fatiguing muscles much quicker. Now you see a lot of runners that are like, I mean, that's over exaggeration, but they're way rotation-y. We want to balance, but we need some rotation when we walk and when we run to help propel us forward with our abdominals and our glutes. So I love chopping motions. I love this motion, kind of kneeling or split stance, because we spend a lot of time when we walk, we're in a split stance over and over and over again. It's a really functional place to be. So the first thing that we can start with is just let's get in either a kneeling position, okay? If we decide to do the kneeling position, here's 2 little things, okay? I want you to tuck a little bit, not a lot, okay? And we're going to flex our back foot. Flexing our back foot is going to help activate and recruit glute. It's a basic thing you can do to recruit your glute, okay? If you're in a half kneeling position, same thing. We're gonna come up on that back toe, because that's gonna help recruit glute, and we're gonna tuck a little bit, okay? Just here, you should feel some core and glute activation, because our bodies wanna throw us into this extension position, okay? So if we tuck and tuck that back toe, tuck the back toe, okay? Now we have to activate glute. Now we're like, oh, okay. So I love a good toe tuck. Second, from here, all we're going to do is grab our bands. Sorry, I should have had to do that before.
I can move this if you want. It's a little softer, so I just rolled it out.
Yeah, And if you guys want to get on that, feel free. I mean, we're in a good spot. As I'm like falling over. If you want to go onto that, that's great. Whatever works. I know. Like
Feel a lot better
on the knee, yeah. I'm used to doing this on a hardwood floor in clinics, so I'm like, I think my knees have just gotten used to like showing people on hardwoods. And I was a catcher, so, you know. Okay, so all we're gonna do, okay, tuck the back toe, okay? Tuck your hips under you a little bit. You actually may get a little bit of a quad stretch when you tuck your hips. So if you know you're tucking your hips if you feel it through this right quad or whatever leg is tucked, so your left, okay? That means you're maintaining a tucked position, okay? Now, because you're trying to stabilize, so instead of there, push into your left toe, okay? And try and activate that left glute. So the leg that's on the ground, that's the glute that should be firing. So your right glute, Annie, your right glute, okay? From here, okay, we're gonna pull the band apart and we're gonna reach. This is as high as I can go because our shoulder muscles want to pull us into extension. So to fight that, we've got to maintain our tummy. So this is about where I can go. I can't get any more shoulder flexion, otherwise I have to extend. So only go as high as you can maintain that tuck. And for me, that's right about there because I have really bad shoulder mobility. So I get my extra shoulder mobility with back extension. You can do this, okay? I'm using TheraBand, but to challenge yourself, if you're like, just wanna kind of warm that up, you can grab a weight, tuck, and back down. And that fires my core off immediately. So go ahead and try this, pass this weight around. We'll do even a smaller weight. You can try with the weight. Good. And we're getting some shake. Yeah. Yes. Yep, you come up on the toe because that's going to help fire this off. Good, 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 good. Good, and we will take a rest from that. I'm going to use you as my model, okay? So if you want to get back into the kneeling stance, whichever, let's go, actually if you could go right leg down for me, left leg up.
Right leg down.
Yep, left leg up, perfect. So this is going to be some anti-rotation stuff, okay? So anti-rotation is good because it's helping us to recruit that Z-axis once we get into a rotational moment. So you're going to grab here, okay, with both hands, okay, and we're just going to do a Paloff press. So you're going to push straight out towards her, good, and back. Don't let me pull the band away from you. Keep it right in your in line with your chest. So the band wants to pull her back, but she's having to really recruit obliques and TA to not let me rotate her.
I lost it.
Yep. So let's try that with a partner. Let's just do some rotation, Paloff press or anti-rotation, whatever you want to call it. You can go on. So the limb that is down, yep. So that's how the limb is down is closest to your partner or back. Yeah. Perfect. Maintain the tuck.
I know it's hard that you feel like your body's.
Yep, gonna fall over. Activate the glute. The glute is gonna act as a stabilizer, huge stabilizer. And also the glute is gonna help you maintain that tuck. You were
Pulling up here.
Yeah. It was just, you're just fighting for stability. So then, other side.
Oh, other
Yeah.
side is too.
Good work. Good, yep. And you also, you're a little bit more hypermobile too. So you have a little bit more lumbar extension. So these are hard because you got to fight it. Where someone like you, whose sway back is good, that's going to help you activate core better, but not glutes. So you're going to have to work for glute activation, but core is going to be easier for you. You're probably more glute dominant, and core is hard because you're in a lumbar extension position. So we kind of have to fight either one.
Oh, okay.
Just not, yes, very, yeah. Ehlers-Danlos? No, just hypermobile.
Lousy.
Yeah. Do we all feel that, kind of, sort of, that anti-rotation? Tuck that back leg, tuck the toe. Yep, that's gonna get glute. Or try and get most bang for our buck. Work smarter, not harder, for sure. Good work. Good job. Yeah, and they're not like horribly hard on your joints, which is nice. Hard, yes. Switch sides.
Oh, if we did that, I guess I'm on the wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. You can do both ways, and you're going to find differently, but the way to do it is, yeah. But you can definitely you can do it over your top leg and see. I just don't ever really train that way. I usually train this bottom leg down. So, the last thing in this kneeling position is going to be just a chop. So we did anti-rotation, so we're preventing rotation. Now we want to rotate. I like to do anti-rotation to warm up before I go into rotation because I can rotate through a lot of other places other than my core if I don't warm it up first, if I don't cue it in first. I can rotate through hips, through a lot of other places. So I like to do anti-rotation before I do rotation. There's a method to my madness when I'm running patients through exercises. They're like, do you just randomly? I'm like, nope, I don't just randomly come up with things. Like, I truly have a method to my madness. So this is, Annie, if you wouldn't mind coming over and helping. And all of these things you can do on your own at home. Like, just attach it to a table leg or something. Because I have help here, I'm doing that. So same thing, so I'll have you go, yep. So it's the same thing, we're going across, but now we're going across and up, and we're trying to get a good pull through this side obliques. Okay, so here. Okay, we're not rotating through here. I'm rotating through my obliques, and I can feel I'm pushing out a little bit. So this is a really hard thing to do, but I like rotation, okay? But try and keep your hips stable. So we're rotating through the trunk rather than through the hips. Does that make sense? Let's give it a try. Very similar, you can do this in split stance, okay? Just going from low to high through the trunk, not the hips. I have terrible thoracic mobility, so I can't get a lot of rotation. Most of us probably don't have great thoracic mobility, so we're not gonna be able to get a lot of rotation. So we're really just working up and over. If you had really actually good thoracic mobility, you could actually turn, but I don't got it.
Which leg do I change?
Same, yep, just like that. So the leg closest to your partner is the leg back. Come back up on that back toe. And tuck and reach up and across. But keep these hip bones, so you had lasers right here, keep them forward. Yep.
Hard to balance.
It is. Squeeze that right glute. Good. Get this guy activated. And you're doing it, it's come on an even surface. Oh. You're making it way harder for yourself. Good, very nice. If I had hip lasers though, I don't want them to move. Good, good, and on your way back down, don't let it pull your hips, okay? Good, better. So we're training concentrically and eccentrically. Yeah, don't pull out of it as you come back down. Let your core take you out of that. Good. Oh, Lordy, right? Just call me. Good.
Oh, it's hard to keep the hips.
Mm-hmm. That is where we're going to cheat a little bit. Good. You feel this? Make sure we're breathing. Again, we don't need bands. If you have a weight at home, if you have a can of soup, anything, okay? Across and down. We can do it with any sort of weight. I like bands because I like resistance. Resistance helps me activate my core a little more, and I find for patients resistance is a little bit easier to activate than with a free weight, but free weight's going to be more functional because we use, more weighted stuff. Good stability too. Really nice hip stability.
I'm thinking about my big booty.
Yes. Well, you're doing it. You're stabilizing. Yeah, that looks really good. See, and you're like, wow, look at her hips. I love it. You're coaching her through this.
Look at them.
I know, they're not moving because that is on. Are you okay? So you're quad. So pull your hips forward more. Keep coming. Keep getting into more hip extension. There you go. Stay in hip extension. So I want you, for the sake of this, come into a little bit more of an extended position, so you're allowed to have, for you, a little bit of tilt. Yep. Good, because now that's going to help you. So you're trying to sit back here and hang on your hip flexors rather than getting extension and hanging on your glute.
Okay.
So yes, you want to maintain a flat back, but you're too good at maintaining a flat back.
Christine, I'll see.
So we can come up to sitting. If we wanted to make this harder, you're like, goodness, like if I had someone that was crushing it and doing really well, can I steal that Airx from you? We could put them on an unstable surface. So my 50K, she's doing really good with a lot of these, but she gets her symptoms on trails with a little bit more imbalance. She's not running on just straight concrete or treadmill. So now I'm loading her on an unstable surface. You can do front leg or back leg. If you're kneeling, front knee. I like, if I'm kneeling, I'm gonna do my front leg just to get a little bit more here. But you can go onto an unstable surface. So if you are a runner, I don't progress too many people to unstable surfaces because for the most part we're on solid ground. But for my runners, the progression that I think a lot of therapists and a lot of us fail to add is unstable surfaces, because a lot of our people are running on trails. We're not running on concrete. So you're having to fight a little bit more through your ankle and stuff. For my runners, even walkers, okay? Even if you like to walk on the trails, unstable surface, I also like to get barefoot. That's gonna help you just cue a little bit more through here, because that adds instability when you're barefoot. Once you go into a shoe and you have more stability, we already have a little bit of extra support there. So if I can train out of that support, then I'm gonna be even better when I have support. Just some stuff to keep in mind if you're a trail walker, or just a big walker or runner, unstable surfaces. Last thing, and we'll kind of wrap up, hopefully we're starting to feel our tummies a little bit, is standing stuff. So I put some basic ones on here, but we're gonna go, I was thinking on the way over, I wanna add one or two more. So Annie, will you help me again? Something as basic as, actually you hold and I'll go, okay? Just a pull down and a lift. Because when we run and we walk and we get in a single leg stance, we forget to use our core. But when I add resistance with the pull down, now I am cueing and I'm training my brain that when I take a step or when I run, my core's gotta kick on, okay? So we're doing a little strengthening here because we're gonna get stronger here. This is more of a neuro re-education. This is a reminder of like, when I step, this has got to engage. So when we get into standing, we do more functional neuro re-ed of like, yes, it's strength, but it's more reminders of like, these things have to work together in order for me to work. I love this. And then I love this one. Super hard. I may fall over, but like I said, be willing to fail. This is really simulating trail running right here. I love this. Again, it's not so much strength as it is a mental reminder. So let's try it, okay? Only lift as far as you can lift, okay? But what I'm gonna tell people is, if you activate your glute, the glute that's on the ground, you're gonna find yourself a lot more stability than you realized. So when you go to lift up, sit into that glute. It's going to help give you stability. Try it. Good. Oh, pull back. Pull. Stay nice and tall. I want you to get extended. Good. Extend through the hips. Good, yes. Right? So much more stable there than the first 4 reps when you tried it. And you're a lot more stable on your right leg than you are on your left leg. Again, so when you pull down, I want you to extend a little bit. Not through your upper spine, through your hips. There you go.
Feel that.
Good. More glute activation there. So for you, I would work on lots of hip extension stuff because you don't like to get into this hip extended position. You probably have a rock solid core in your rectus because you're here, which is good, but when you get into an extended position and that TA needs to take over, not a lot. So I would work on a lot of extension, coming into extension, glute, like hip extension with a little bit of lumbar extension. Not a lot, but enough to get you out of this tucked position. Yeah.
All right.
One glute.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. What, like, you know, we have these booties, but we don't use them. Like,
I know.
golly.
They just you sit on it.
They do. Now we can use them. We can sit on them and use them.
Whoa.
Whoa.
You're radical.
Good. When you come up, think about pushing your hips forward and up. Good. So, good. Good, Annie. Good. It's not fair. She was a dancer. She has all the stability. My dancers are really stable. My dancers are grippers, so a lot of my dancers have incontinence because they're really tight. They're stable, but they're just super, super tight. So we actually have to cue them out of some of that gripping. But I can pretty much spot a dancer when I see one. So they have a lot of stability. They have a lot of flexibility though too, which we have to control. So does all that make sense? Okay. You can do lots in single leg. So we can do that anti-rotation in single leg. We can do the chop in single leg. Okay. Those are really hard things that are very advanced. I think I prefer this. I think you're gonna get more bang for your buck. You're gonna be able to recruit glute and core a little better if you're here and you're so focused on not falling over. You can't tune into the things you need to be tuning into. So only go as far as you can tune into what you need to be tuning into. You're still gonna get really, really great results from that. I put a picture of like a single leg anti-rotation, but it's not one that I jump to for a lot of my people. That's really advanced stuff, and if you can do that, you probably shouldn't be in my clinic at this point. So that's kind of my cue of like, okay, we're ready for discharge, because if you can single leg stance anti-rotation, you're good. The last one that I wanted to work on, because a lot of us have a hard time activating glutes in a transverse plane. This is one that I've recently been a little bit, I don't know, I find exercises and then I get stuck on them for a little bit and I have all my patients do them, but it's one that I've really found a lot of success with. You know, it doesn't have to be a high box, but a little bit of elevation. We can even start without elevation. I think starting with elevation is a little easier. So it's a curtsy lunge, okay? And we can add some rotation in it. So we're reaching back, okay? So now we're out of a sagittal plane, okay? So now we're working in a transverse plane. So I'm having to control my hip and my knee and my ankle and all of that does to it, but I'm sitting into this hip. So I'm really getting good glute work. But what I like about this exercise is coming from a little bit of a rotation out of it and into hip extension, okay? So you can even start just here, of just reaching back behind you, sitting into that front glute. Sit into it like you're gonna sit into a chair, okay? If you need to, I have my patients all the time in clinic. Take whatever hand is in the front and put it on your butt. And like think about sitting into that hand, okay? And then come out of it and up. Yep, and this moment is where you get that good glute activation. So sit. When I start to come forward, all that weight shifts into my front leg. Up, 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 squeezing, 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 and up. Straighten the knee, right knee. There you go. Now we're in full, what we call triple extension. Toe extension, knee extension, hip extension. That is a great one. If you need, I will let people hold on to something for balance, because I'm not training balance here. I'm training glute. So reach, sit, pull, 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 pull into that good extension, up and through, okay? I like to add a weight. So I like to come here, okay? And as I pull up, I pull across. Now, core is getting involved, and we're doing anti-rotation stuff. That's really hard. So what you can do is, as you can tell, I'm losing my breath. Tie this off, okay? Take the hand in here that's coming together. You can use support, okay? This band's not gonna be long enough. And pull across. Up, 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 and pull across. Okay, let's try that. Find a wall, find something if you need a partner to hold a band. But this is putting everything we worked on into one movement, okay? Hip extension, core activation, all the things. I didn't breathe very well during that. Make sure you're exhaling. Yep, so other side. Yep, so yeah, I'll have you come on the other side. Nope, I lied. So let's all go together because I can cue this. So let's all go left leg in front. Okay. Left hand comes across your body and grabs the band. Yep, yep, yeah. Oh, you get so much lumbar extension. When you come here, pull your hips and your core through together. That's going to decrease your lumbar extension. Good. You have so much lumbar extension that you can leave your core behind and pull your hips up, but I want them to come together. Good. Better, Annie. Good.
Oh, only if there's a balance.
Which is fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Like this?
Yeah.
Right leg left, left leg right.
Yep, you're doing it great.
Like this?
Yep, but keep your hips forward. There's always a caveat, right? Good. Push, 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 pull, 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 pull. Good. Good. Very nice.
Okay.
Stephen, do you have pens? Like a so we can all make notes. I'll go through some of these and make some notes. Yep, start there and then pull across. I do not have a picture of this, so if we want to talk it through, or if you want someone to take a video of it on your phone, I'm happy to do this, but good. Much better on bringing that hip through too. You're not leaving that hip behind. You're crushing it.
I don't know.
You're doing amazing. Stand up. So, one little thing that I think is going to help you a lot. Push through your front heel. That's going to help get your glute. So sit.
This is the glute I'm worried about.
Yep,
Right?
and push down through here. Good. Good.
That's advanced.
It is very advanced. It is. But pushing through the heel is going to help activate that glute.
Yeah, okay.
As you come up, push through the heel, push through the front of the hips, get knee extension. Very nice. Yeah, that can happen. Yeah.
Oops.
Looks so good. Yeah, you're like, nah, I'm done. So this is, I love this one so much for my runners. I will put them on an unstable surface that's really, really, really hard. I'll make them barefoot, anything you can do. But I hope today was a good reminder that it doesn't take a lot of equipment. It doesn't take a whole lot of space or time even. If you did one set of all of these, you probably could get through it in about 10 or 15 minutes of just doing one set. So I encourage some of these, find one or two that you really love, that you really feel like gets it all activated, and run through those before you do your workout, just to like wake muscles up. Maybe it's the bridge with the overhead with your arms, and that's gonna wake up TA and glute, and then go into your workout. This is not a substitute for what you're doing with Steven, because we do need to do those. We do need to load squats. We do need to do deadlifts. We do need to row. We do need to do all of those things. That's real life. But this is going to help get you stronger so much faster because you're stabilizing with the right muscles, and that way you can load more weight because you're more stable. It's also just going to help with overall general support of your hips, your knees, your low back, all of those things. I see time and time again, low back pain, hip pain, things like that. They're strong, they're squatting, they're doing all the right things, but they lack the stability in their pelvis, and we call lumbo-pelvic stability in their lumbar spine and their pelvis. They're just lacking a little of that stability, and it doesn't take a lot to find it or to get it. It takes it's hard mental work. A lot of my patients are like, I'm mentally fatigued at the end of my sessions, because it's like you're cueing into muscles you wouldn't think about using, but that's what's really important. And it can be really fun. And I had so much fun today. Thanks for being willing to try it all, even new stuff, even stuff you're like, yeah, I'm probably not going to be successful at, but that's how you get better. That's how you feel things. Kind of my big takeaways are like glute. So getting through the glute, getting full use of that booty. We got it. A lot of us don't use it. And with that, can we activate TA at the same time? And can we exhale? Breathing is a hard thing to remember, but is really, really, really important. In terms of kind of true pelvic conditions, if you have any, or if you want to talk to me about kind of anything going forward, feel free. I would love to like chat one-on-one with you, but this was really just more of a broad, foundational strength that everyone needs to be doing. I treat men, I treat kiddos, I obviously treat women, We all need to be doing it. It's all gonna help us going forward. So thanks so much for coming out. I hope you guys learned a thing or two.